make friends. Are you hearing me?
Today is February 8th, 2018, and the time is now 8 o'clock. Good night to the Progressive Empowerment Party members. Welcome to Frontline. My name is Janice Leamonda Creaky, and I'm the PRO. And to the far left is Anthony Defoe, Deputy PRO. We are your hosts for tonight's show, and our guest on tonight's show is our chairperson, Felicia Holder, and Richard Lays.
All right.
Richard is an executive member whose portfolio is security, along with Dilworth Bradford, who is on the advisory council and responsible also for security. Our topic tonight is vote yourself a better country. So there are a couple of topics that points that we want to touch on tonight. The first one is put an end to crime. Now, those of you would have seen this type. Can you show there? This type of flyer on the PPP. So we're going to be counting down these flyers tonight, which will guide us through the whole process. So Richard, let's start with you because you are responsible for security. What is the national security policy and what is its primary function?
Well, let me start by saying good night to all our listeners and viewers. I'm happy to be here again with you all.
Yes, lovely to have
A
you.
national security policy is really it's a framework that maps out a plan for the protection of the citizenry of a country from both foreign and local threats, or domestic and foreign, local and international. So the primary function is to put a plan in place that is responsible for the protection of the citizenry against any threat, both from inside and from outside.
Okay, and how does one determine what plan is most suited to any particular country?
Like anything else, you look at what is your biggest risk right now. I think it's safe to say right now our biggest threat right now is gang warfare, countless murders that are now being committed by the hour, and you need to analyze what's fueling that. And an analysis will show you very quickly that the illegal trade of narcotics and guns, ammunition and weapons are the primary fuel sources behind that. So in having established that, the next thing you want to do is to treat with it. And this is why our policy states that one of the primary thing that we are going to look at first is, of course, sealing our borders. Because you look at how are these things accessing Trinidad and Tobago. We're a twin island, so they'll either access us by the sea or from by air. So the basic fundamental rule in setting up a security plan like this for national security is you protect your borders. Your first line of defense is always your perimeter. And so that is why we propose to have a maritime wall with the use of radar technology, special repurposed barges that will be strategically positioned along our coast that enable us to be able to respond. What we want to do is try to implement a 5D process, what is known as the 5 Ds. We will detect you, and in doing so, letting you know that you have been detected in trying to enter our borders, is supposed to deter you. And if you persist, we will delay you from our response process. If you refuse to yield, we will detain you. And if you choose to be aggressive, we will destroy you.
Right.
Because make no bones about it, we will be dealing in a war. We will be in a war.
Good. Sounds very interesting. Okay, so now that you've done all those things, what would be the benefits of those actions that you've just described? What would be the benefits to the people of Trinidad and Tobago?
In our discussions, what we are trying to take as a multifaceted approach to our national security plan. We are starting from the outside, as I just told you, which is the protection of your borders, and we go straight in, come in and in and in and in to what we believe to be the root cause, which is it starts with our children, with the education system. So that is why I said it's a multifaceted program. When you have a safe country, when you can demonstrate to your citizenry that they live in a safe environment, it fosters, first of all, confidence in the local in economy, the local business world for investment, further investment. It also strengthens international investment. It strengthens confidence in international investors. So those are just two of the many, many advantages that you're going to have to look at. There's job creation that comes out of that. So again, it's multifaceted, and there's several advantages, but primarily you want to look at boosting both local and foreign investment. Because obviously
and
there's a strengthened sense of
security of the island.
Of course. And any foreign investor coming in there, it is greatly affected by the state of the country right now, and right now we're not looking so good.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. So our next topic we move on to is the decriminalizing of marijuana. So Felicia, I'm going to have you talk a bit about this, and I also would like for you to explain to our viewers, will the party be taking advantage of this initiative?
Right. So firstly, good night, everybody. Yes, we will be, and if these beautiful pictures that you brought here, everybody can see that we have our decriminalized marijuana poster, which we just introduced this week. And it's so funny because we were discussing this today. Basically, yes, it's something that we are looking at, and it's something that we do want to implement in our policies, because today we were speaking about just how much farmland is wasting away doing nothing. And we can be growing marijuana and cannabis and exporting to other countries for medicinal use. Right now there's a synthetic drug actually that's being pushed to ease pain, and it's a synthetic cannabis. Whereas the real thing is so much more beneficial, and on the international market we can make so much money from it. We speak about diversifying the economy, yet budget after budget, year after year, there are no initiatives that are being looked at. Antigua and Barbuda today would have decriminalized marijuana. Hats off to them.
Hats off to Antigua and Barbuda. Most definitely. You see, you are taking this step as being leaders in our demographic of the Caribbean, Jamaica as well. And you know, as Trinidad and Tobago being the only industrial state really within the Caribbean, because we are dealing with natural gas and oil and all these other natural resources. Again, like Philip says, we have not taken the opportunity to diversify our economy in all the different areas. Not only, I mean, as in agriculture, this is where cannabis would actually fall into play, where, you know, we can create a program where we devote to the farmer, if it's an acre, if it's a quarter or a portion of that acre, to be devoted towards the growth of cannabis. And again, for us not to be followers anymore, let's legalize it, let's decriminalize it, let's have our testing facilities do proper research, let's get information on our own that we can present on the international arena. In that sense, now we would not be dictated to. We would have fact and proof as to the pros and cons where marijuana is, where cannabis is concerned, as well as it's not now. It's within our entire history of the existence of mankind. We have been using cannabis, but. Let me tell you.
I know this is your area.
My gosh, this is a show is specifically going to be geared towards the information factor that the population needs to know about cannabis, because it's been propaganda for almost a century, and in reality, most first world countries, cannabis was part of their agriculture package, where farmers had to grow cannabis because they were being used for hemp. Which was producing ropes and clothing and a host of different things. But anyway, another show for that, Trinidad and Tobago. But yes, PEP is standing for the cause of decriminalizing marijuana. And again, there's a huge proposal that we plan to roll out for the public to know and hear. And again, we would like to get your approval on that. So yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Well, John, this is actually just bringing to my attention the fact that this is the Prime Minister.
Yeah, this is the Prime Minister who spoke about this when he was saying that the use of marijuana is now socially acceptable and it is, in essence, a part of the culture of the country. But he wants to make it abundantly clear that his government is not advocating the use of cannabis. We are against anything that is smoked. We do accept, though, on the other hand, that marijuana, utilized in different forms, has significant medicinal benefits, and certainly we will move pretty quickly to ensure that we legalize the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes. This is Brown who is speaking, and who is the Prime Minister of Antigua, Barbuda. He also indicated that there will be public education campaigns to sensitize people about the dangers of abusing the drug.
And what he just said there is actually very critical, because
Correct.
people, when they hear decriminalize marijuana, they're like, oh yeah, free, we can walk around and smoke weed and plant weed and stuff. No, it definitely needs to be regulated. This can't just be something that we say we decriminalize marijuana, then tomorrow everybody is walking around with a joint in their hand. Of course, that's not going to happen. And while I agree with him in terms of the medicinal use, I also think that just like he and what they are preparing to do in Antigua right now, the public definitely needs to be aware. They need to be sensitized. They need information.
Information, that's the
Give them
key.
the information. And do research, because you can't just say we're going to decriminalize marijuana and then, like I said, it's a free for all.
No, because I've had people, not meaning to cut you off, I've had people say to me, when I say, I'm an advocate for legalization of marijuana, they're all like, oh my gosh, that's like the devil thing, and it's all negative where they're concerned, but in the same breath, the whole reason why they're negative towards it has been the marketing campaign where marijuana was concerned, in demonizing this plant, really.
Let's be a little more specific here, because one person is saying decriminalizing, the other one is saying legalizing. Those are two different aspects that you need to be careful with.
Well, correct. Well, for me personally, where cannabis is concerned, I know our first step would be having to decriminalize marijuana. But I do believe that we must motion ourselves to a point where it can simply be something that is, it's legal. Even if we were to create some level of parameters around it, of course, because we must have something looking over this where we're able to collect the taxes and have proper bodies overseeing the growth, production, and processing and the whole 9 yards. So again, like Felicia said, we're not just going to legalize or decriminalize marijuana and it's a free-for-all for everyone. You know, there's going to be parameters. There's, again, sensitization to the public, giving proper information of the pros and the cons, educating from the school level even. Because, again, we've been looking at this thing in such a taboo form.
It's correct. That's what it's been a taboo form for decades upon decades.
And what the thing is, marijuana is not just to be smoked. You can have it as a tea.
That's right. You can eat it in a brownie or a cake.
Let's not beat around the bush. It's going to have an effect on you.
Definitely,
It
but
will have an
then,
effect. It needs
Richard,
to be
think about
controlled.
it in terms of tobacco and alcohol.
And I'm all for that. I have no argument with that. For me, from a security standpoint, you immediately reduce the demand. And when you reduce the demand, the whole culture, the whole atmosphere changes.
Yeah.
In terms of the wars for
That's
controlling
right.
blocks and whatever. There's no, if you take away that demand, so from my standpoint, from a security standpoint, I'm all for it. I think it's a way forward, as you were saying.
Now, I have a question for you, Richard. So, if, let's say, hypothetically, Trinidad decriminalizes marijuana, what's going to happen to all those persons who are in jail right now who were caught with, let's say, a joint or 2 joints? What is going to happen to them in the prisons? Are we going to
Pardon them?
pardon them and say, listen, that's it?
From Richard Blaze speaking, I would say wipe it clean. From Richard Blaze's perspective, because I think already we want to clear the prison system of the non-violent criminal element that is there, such as for this. So clear it one time, and let's press on.
So
That would be my opinion. But I don't know that I'm qualified now to make as to say what is going to happen or what needs to happen. But in my opinion, that's what should happen. I believe our policy would subscribe to that, to wipe it a clean slate.
Right. So it should empty out a good majority.
Yeah, a large
Yeah,
majority.
because you have people in there
Listen,
rotting away.
70% of the people incarcerated is due to marijuana in the jails.
Right.
And that's an interesting statistic. That have been incarcerated for extremely lengthy periods of time for the smallest quantities.
But let me tell you, I've had people within the security and police service say to me that marijuana is the tool they use to be able to arrest certain individuals within the public. That they, you know what I mean? Because they're not able to get certain, I guess, proof or catch them in an act of sorts, and that was the only act that they were able to have certain individuals arrested, which I think in my mind is absolutely ridiculous because, but on the other hand, we are dealing with a police service that is deficient. They don't have the level of tools that they need. Look, just recently, the acting commissioner, or whomever he is, this guy, saying that they need 1,100 extra police officers in order to keep the country at a particular level, but they've been running in a deficiency for how long now? So no one knew that you needed 1,100 police officers extra. That, you know, what we're doing for Carnival, we're not able to maintain that year round because we have a deficiency within the police service. Because he's saying for Carnival, they're taking officers from other jurisdictions and other departments and put the focus here within Port of Spain. So now you're talking about during the Carnival period, a big portion of the country is not at its full staff of its protective services, such as the police. You know what I mean? That, in my mind, is a concern. And the question is, how long has that been the environment in Trinidad and Tobago within our police service? Has it been for the last year? Has it been for the last 2 years? Has it been for the last 2 administrations? I mean, again, they are putting information into the public space, but not walking the public through in understanding the dynamics as to why it is the way it is. So again, what are the people to actually think to themselves as a citizenry? They just don't care. They're doing what the hell they want to do, and it is what it is. And my point is, Trinidad and Tobago, it can't just be, it is what it is. There are T's to be crossed and there are I's to be dotted. And we run to first world countries, and the point of the matter of going to these places is simply because the system is on par. It is in line with the citizenry. The citizenry actually have rights, bodies, and and mechanisms that they can go to for a level of accountability, for a level of transparency, no matter what the department, whether it be public or even private sector. So, again, PEP is here to bring that change, and for all those out there that feel to themselves that, listen, you know, oh, PEP is just like the others, and listen, we're not like the others, and we need to drive that message home. We are regular people, just like you out there that's watching us here, agreeing with 90, if not 100% of what we are talking about and the way we would like to see this country move forward. Again, we can't do this by ourselves. We need the support of the nation, not just by a selected few, not just by the yellow, not just by the red, or by the ones that simply didn't even have a color. We want the support from 100% Trinbagonians on the soil, out of the soil, in other countries, all around the world. If you're on the goddamn moon, get a goddamn rocket and find your backside back here to Trinidad and Tobago. But anyway.
While we're on that topic.
Well, you are so fired up, Anthony.
I am.
I mean, it inspires me. And I hope that it will inspire those who are watching tonight.
I hope so.
It is frustrating. We've been doing the same thing over and over. And we have almost been brainwashed into expecting a different result.
Exactly.
Now, a clear example today is you heard the Commissioner of Police say this week that everything is set for a safe carnival. You recall in the rally when I said, you're going to hear that.
Yes.
And every year you hear the same thing over. And I'm going to say it again. Well, if we're going to be set for a safe Monday and Tuesday,
Why not safe?
what about Ash Wednesday?
That's right.
What about the Thursday? What about next week?
You should be safe every single day, 300.
So I can understand his passion.
Yeah.
Because I have to watch children on the road who's being kidnapped, who is, I mean, look on social media, you see all these children in school fighting like they're in WWF. I mean, real fight, men pulling out knife, who getting stabbed, who getting cut. I mean, what madness is really going on? And then now you have a Minister of Education sitting down, and again, it's only excuses. We have to disconnect that
definitely.
thing.
Who will ring the bell during our Frontline program?
On air.
Whoever rang that bell know that after this program I'm coming for you.
Yeah, but I just got through off right there.
And I'll jump on what you're saying, because that's why we have tagged our program a common sense approach.
Yes.
You know where the hotspots are. You know what the challenge is. You need to treat with that. And Dilwood has emphasized the fact that in the trouble spots, the head division, the head of the police division in that constituency, they must be on a part of the PTA. So they can have their finger on the button, on the pulse all the time to determine what's taking place. Why is this student constantly missing school? Who are the trouble ones that we need to work with? Right? But it just seems to be there's no plan. Yeah. There's no plan.
And it's unfortunate because you know, the security services, they get a heck of a lot of the budget in terms of money, when the budget is being read. It's a lot of money.
It is, and it is at the forefront right now. It's at the forefront right now.
What are they doing with that money?
And, well, that's another aspect of the PP. There will be accountability. And as I've said before, you have to approach this systematically with a plan. The problem that you have in Cedros, you're not going to have it in Diego Martin. It's two different issues that you're dealing with. The problem that you have in Diego Martin is not the problem that you're having in Caroni. So therefore you can't have the same plan to be effective in those areas. You can't, you have to have a separate plan. Caroni is pretty larceny. Cedros is, that's where your borders are most porous. So your plan has to be structured around that.
Yeah.
And and as a part of a PEP policy, those division heads have to write a plan. Come and tell me, well, what is your plan for this? Let me hear what you're doing. And you write it, it's approved, you implement it, you monitor it, you audit it, you make changes where necessary. But you're working towards the same result.
Of course.
You're dealing with crime in all the various constituencies. And you apply that formula to all 41 constituencies. It's a very simple approach.
Yeah. I know, they're trying to make it look so
Sorry.
difficult.
Thank
They
you.
always do. They always do.
Okay, another topic I want to touch on tonight. Let me move this one out. To reform our prisons. Okay? Thank you. Now, once we decriminalize marijuana, we need to address the situation with all the criminals who were charged with joints and so on them. Okay? So we want to be able to reform and to give them options. Yes? So the whole idea, of course, is to educate the prisoners while they are incarcerated. In fact, to bring university education to some of them and skills training as well. So at least if I'm incarcerated for 3-4 years, at least by the time I come out, I should be able to have a skill. And this is something that we had talked about the last time we were on Frontline. But the whole thing is to equip them so that when they can be easily reintegrated into the society and lead full productive lives. So with respect to, I guess this too will tie in with the whole security plan. Tell us a little bit about that, Richard.
That is it's going to be a massive undertaking.
Correct.
So let's not be fooled. The security plan is not about only, it doesn't stop when you have stopped the flow of drugs and narcotics and illegal weapons. It doesn't stop when you have arrested the criminal element or the corrupt element. You have these individuals who are incarcerated, and we are saying that we want to change our prisons into universities. Let me be very clear. To take a criminal who has been incarcerated 5-6 times and teach them a trade and just release them into society, you haven't solved the problem. Mm-hmm. You have just equipped that criminal to be whatever the trade was. It starts in here. You have to work in here. So that's again a very multifaceted plan to have the relevant expertise. How do you take a 19-year-old who has made more money in 2 days than all of us combined here in a month, who has had that experience of power with women, controlling other people's lives, and change that individual now to accept that what they were doing is wrong, and they now have to, it's a better way to contribute to their society by working for and earning maybe an eighth of what they were accustomed to. How do you convert that individual? And it's a very, very deep program. But we are cognizant that it has to be done. We have the persons who are capable in Trinidad and foreign entities who are willing to, who have it down to a science, right? Who have done that, who are doing that right now.
Right.
So it can be, again, it can be done. It's not a question of just incarcerate you and say, well, okay, we're done with you. It's not about that.
I do want to say something though with regards to that, which is, I mean, what you said is true. You went from making thousands upon thousands of dollars, and now we're telling you come out of jail, we equipped you with a skill or trade, and now you're probably, like you said, going to be making 1/5, 1/8 of that. But I mean, when you look at it we're talking vote yourself a better country here. When you look at it with the other policies, so you're looking at it where you come out, yes, you're making significantly less money. However, we have shut down the borders, so your access to drugs and guns from what it was to, it was probably very easily accessible to probably now you can't get through with that. We also have policies for home ownership, so you don't have to study that, I have all these bills to pay and I can't afford a home, because we're making home ownership easier for you now. And I remember we were having that discussion at one of our meetings where we were talking about the minimum wage and whether it should be raised or not. The problem is not that the minimum wage, I mean, it is low. It is a very low minimum wage, but it's the fact that your money can't purchase things. You have no proper
That's
spending
it.
power with your
Ah,
money. So
that's
when you're looking at the fact that the cost of living under Progressive Empowerment Party government is going to be way better, I know it's going to be better. I mean, the policies that we have, brilliant. And when you look at all of them working together, Richard, I think that it's not going to be as daunting as it may seem. Yeah, you're telling a young boy who is making a lot more money that you'll be making less. But he's also coming back and he's going to be integrated into a completely different society where you can own a home, you can afford to buy things, you have money extra to go online, and it's no longer a race. Right now it's a rat race in Trinidad. Everybody busy. Everybody's busy all the
Don't
time.
you hustle?
And why? Because you have 2 and 3 jobs, you're hustling, you need money for this, you need
Broken
money for that.
home.
And let's not forget,
Exactly.
there's also a real element, a real portion of our population that are into criminal activity and they don't want to be doing it, but they don't see anywhere. It's the same thing as prostitution. There are women who are prostitutes who don't want to do it, but some of them believe it's the only thing that they know to do, and some of them believe that's the only way out. So when you create hope and opportunity, as you just said, there's that portion that says, here's a way now. So you can't discount that. So you must take into consideration, yes, there's the hardened criminal element that you have to work with, and you, again, on the basis of hope and opportunity, you work with these people. There's the reality of the hardened criminals that you cannot reform. And that's a reality that we have to confront.
No, it is, because there are some people who are going to be convicted of murder and rape and...
Correct. We ain't trying to reform them.
Yeah, it's not...
We ain't trying to reform them, right?
We can block this part. No one gets left behind. No one gets left behind.
No, but listen, I remember when I was young, I remember we had a tall coconut tree behind our house. When I tell you this tree was tall, it was towering over our house. And to the point that the roots were so bare that it was on the brink of falling. And I remember being, 8 or 9, and seeing a van pull up, and there were policemen with them, and there were these criminals, apparently. I wasn't even aware. And they came out and they cut down the tree, and I never saw anything like that before. And I never saw it again, to be honest. And when I remember asking my mom at the time, who are these people? And she's like, well, these are persons who are incarcerated. Well, she didn't think not incarcerated, but these are people who are locked up. And I guess they were let out on good behavior, or I don't even know if they do that.
And that happens around the world. You get released, you serve a part of your term because of good behavior, and that's great. It's just so much. It's a huge plan.
Yes.
We have a police force here, and as we say, our plan is to undo and redo
the police.
Okay? I was listening, and allow me to share this. This is to tell you the kind of work we have to do. I was listening to a local talk show program this week.
This is our flag. Yeah?
Correct. I was listening to that.
Right.
And a police officer was appealing to the public to bring information and to have confidence in the police service. And immediately after that, they opened up the telephone lines, and someone called and made a concern that they called in to register a complaint, and the person that spoke to them was very rude and just threw them off. So how do you expect us to have confidence? And the senior police officer's response was, oh, well, that will be a civilian who answered the phone and who did that, and we have no control over them. Now, really, you see where the disconnect is.
That's the type of response he would put, especially in a public space.
Correct.
Right? So you have to start from you have to fix your own house, get yourself in order before you go out there.
Yeah. Not only that, in terms of really undoing and redoing the police service, I mean,
all arms of the protective services. All
arms. Because of how our society is here in Trinidad, we are going to have to bring in foreign law enforcement expertise to help clean up the police service and rid the ranks of the corruption, which we all know are there, and as well the criminals. Incentives to help motivate officers will have to be put in place. Returning policing to the streets and to the communities, because I think that in particular is a critical
Extremely.
initiative, where you have police who live in their constituency, working in their constituency, as opposed to be posted to a constituency that is miles away from home.
Yeah, so we go back, and it has been proven again worldwide to be one of the most effective ways of gathering intelligence. You are assigned to the community, and even let's step a little bit away from that. Even if you're not assigned, the bottom line is this is the plan here. We will patrol the streets on foot, on horseback. That's appealing to children, right? By doing that, you're strengthening relationships, you're boosting confidence in the protective services, and all sorts of things start to unflow with that. If a police officer knows you by your name, takes an interest in you, how was school? Simple basic one. How was school today? How was the football game? Comes to see you at a football game. They have a life too, but at the end of the day, these are things that are used in other countries and work very successfully. In the Iraq War, the British armed forces gathered most of their, more than the US forces, by walking the streets and getting information.
What I want to see is police officers stopping school children who are on the streets and should be in school.
Forensic patrols.
Right. I want to
specifically
see that.
set up to deal with that issue.
Correct. And walk them back to school.
But they have to be trained. Police officers have to be trained for that.
Yes.
Okay? And I want to reiterate that our plan is for all arms of the protective services. Okay? So let's not brand the police force as being the only entity here that has a corrupt element. And they all have a role to play in the undoing and rebuilding of Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
But they have to be really taught, because I don't believe, and I'm not saying anything that those of us looking on and I say I have experience, that their number one priority is in service.
Correct.
In service, and you right now you interact with, again, any member of the protectors, and they speak down to you. It's not a secret. We're not let's call a spade here. So the undoing to redo is going to take a lot. Yes, you have to remove the corrupt element, but you also have to get buy-in into this new concept from the good element. So it's a lot of work to be done.
Which is why you incentivize it. And I remember
one of the ways, yes, we will incentivize it.
I remember when we had when I attended an enterprise a couple of weeks ago, the police had an outreach with the community, and you had an opportunity to ask the then Deputy Commissioner Dulal Chan, and I asked him, I said, we know that corruption is widespread. Why aren't we giving the good officers some kind of incentive or reward for actually reporting the bad ones? Because think about it, you arrest somebody, you go through all of that to build a case, and then your partner inside, who is corrupt, say, well, tell the judge or however far up it goes, let that case slide. And you as a good police officer, you're going to become disenchanted, and then eventually you may either just say, fire this and I do the bare minimum, or you actually join the corrupt element. So why not give the police some kind of incentive to know that, if I do report somebody, if I do bring it to the attention of my superiors, that one, I will be protected, because that's a big part, I will be protected, and two, something would actually happen, and three, I get some kind of reward for it. A little bonus at the end of the day. I remember the officers were complaining that they only got $300 for every so giving them a proper.
They don't get their overtime on time.
Listen, it's all kinds of
things that needs to be done in
you see that statement, reform and undoing and redoing. I don't think there are many persons who don't understand the magnitude of that and what is required. our policy is still in train in terms of building, and there's so many. When you start arresting persons, you don't want to find yourself in a situation as we have experienced already. You arrest 100 or 50 persons, and in 2 days' time they walk in the streets again. You can't have that.
Yeah.
You can't. So the justice system, legal system, all of these things have to be.
Oh yes. I do want to come back to something that we spoke about a little earlier. I just want to touch real quick on that. Where when I said that, when Felicia said for murderers and rapists and so on, for reform for them. In the case of a murderer, killed in cold blood, no remorse, what in your mind do you think the state can do to bring reform for an individual like that? Now, in the first place, and I don't mean to be cruel, I'm not talking on PP behalf here right now this minute, but this is on my behalf, and I just think, why are we even wasting taxpayers' money on a murderer who killed in cold blood? And why are we not reforming the law to the point where we can have hanging or what have you? I mean, in that sense, I mean, it doesn't make sense putting someone into jail for his life where the state has to mind this person for life when they themselves have no remorse over killing another human being. And I mean, really, how are we going to treat with something like that? Now, I'm just talking from personal, as a personal, in a personal capacity here. I know PP has to address a wide portion of the population where there are different views on that, because you have to look at the view of the family members of that individual. Obviously, they would not want this person to die. You know, you would have a portion that would say, well, if he killed someone, well, the state should kill him. You know what I mean? What's your take on that? Because, again, go ahead. Let me hear what you have to say on that.
I think, first of all, in my opinion, you have a law and you have to abide by the law. And if the law says that you have committed a murder, that there's the death penalty, then that's the way we will go.
Okay.
Now, I believe that there are several factors incorporated into that. So, you arrest someone, you send them to trial, they are found guilty, they are sent to jail for, let us say, 35 years, whatever life is. Do we forget about that person? I am saying no. There's a lot that goes into it. I think along the way, based on the nature of the trial, based on the nature of the case, the individual, it could come out that there was a mitigated cause that led that person to behave in that particular manner. Of course, understood. And I'm not saying because there's a justifiable, there were mitigating circumstances that we should go easy on that. You did the crime, you do the time, or you pay the penalty. I do not, in short, what I'm trying to say is I don't subscribe to when you kill somebody, well, then that's it. We throw in the and we lock the door. We lock the keys. I don't subscribe to that. You have to pay a penalty, but if anyone, people can change. And if you believe that, then everyone deserves an opportunity. People change. People can, through an experience in that, I believe that we will all have experiences on our lives that will have profound effects on us that can create a change. Some will be positive and some will be negative.
So I'm giving an example. For example, a young chap that got shot and burnt in the car, that young kid and the driver. I'm not saying I know what's happening where that whole dynamics is, but let's just say, hypothetically speaking, the individual who did that killing did it on purpose.
Right.
And it was a drug war, turf war, and it was just a matter of killing in cold blood, no remorse. He got arrested. We got him to trial. The judge says to him, do you have anything to say? And he's like, F you.
Right. I'm glad that you brought that up. What if that person who committed that act came from an abused background? They were abused by their parents, they've been abandoned, they were ill-treated in all forms, physically, emotionally, all lead that you could find, they've been abused. And then one day, This guy says, hey, come by me. You're suffering, you don't have shoes to wear here. Go $200, no, $500, go get a pair of shoes and come back. Here's what I want you to do. We need clothes too? Here. Take another $500, go and get some clothes and come back. What do you start doing then? You're hungry. When they think that they're going to KFC or Royal Castle for doubles, they take them to a restaurant and treat them like what they feel to be people, like a human being. And then they start bringing them in more and more. I need you to take this across to over there for me. When you come back, you get them $1,000. So I start giving you, hold on. You want to be, you like this lifestyle now? You want to be a part of this? Right. Or you want to be with my group? You want to be with me? Hey, what, you see that fellow over there? I'm going to put a bullet in his chest. Yeah, I could do that. That's nothing. BAM! You're in. So what, you're going to take that person, that same individual who did that, yes, it's a heinous and horrendous act. Are we just going to throw them away? Is there no hope for that individual? Do you believe that there's no hope for that individual? If that were your nephew, your brother.
And that's the same point that I brought up, because again, you're going to have a portion of the population that's going to be hang that SOB.
Of course,
and then
around the world.
Again, you're going to have a portion of the population that will address the angle that you just brought forth. Family members, close friends, maybe people he went to school with. My point is that, again, we don't know what the history of these individuals are. But remember, when we're writing laws now, it has to be something that covers a wide spectrum.
But of course, this is what I'm saying. No one gets left behind. And let's be real. There will be the hardened criminal. Science has shown that serial killers have a deficiency in their brain that, quite frankly, for the want of a better phrase, cannot be corrected. So you have to remain in isolation for the rest of your life, locked up, 23 out of 24 hours per day, and that's the end of that. But I'm asking you, like I've asked children already, parents already, if your child would listen to you when you speak to them because they love and they respect you, scenario one, or your child listens to you because you're going to bust their tail in the most violent manner if they don't listen to you, which one do you want? And if you could attain this scenario where your child listens to you because they love you and they respect you, will you not go that route? Would you not choose to adopt that route?
Of course.
I work in security. I had an employee in my office once that was just recently just going down the wrong road. And to cut a very long story short, I called him to my office and I apologized to him for how I had spoken to him the day before, and he broke down in tears. Broke down. Uncontrollable sorrow. You know what he told me? No one had ever told him that before, that they're sorry for doing him something.
Now, I am taking, well, from what I understand, I think that psychology is going to be a large portion.
Massive. Not a large, massive.
Yeah.
Because if we are saying that we are going to create hope and opportunity,
psychology must
there are those who, because of their circumstances, really did the best that they thought that they could. And it's up to us creating that hope and opportunity to show them, hey, there's a better way.
And psychology people, the arm we're talking about is changing the mindset of the population themselves and knowing what their rights are, and for them to think of themselves of a whole lot more than what we presently think of ourselves right now. So,
and don't get me wrong, you're driving on the shoulder of the road, you're deliberately doing something wrong, there's going to be a harsh penalty. You're driving on the road, and this is my pet, you come out and feel that you can urinate in the middle of the road, there will be a harsh penalty for that. There should be a harsh penalty. Those things are, I mean, I don't want people to think that, oh, the PP government is going to be, no. There's going to be this thing called accountability that is across the board. We live in a very indisciplined society at all levels, from throwing things out of your car while you're driving to flat out breaking the law. And those things have to stop. And I am a full supporter of drastic situations may require draconian measures.
drastic situations may require draconian measures
to cut it clean.
That's interesting.
Right? So I don't, if the law says that, okay, let's look at it. A very simple example again. You travel abroad and you go into a car park and you see a spot reserved for a disabled and reserve veterans. It's not, you don't park in it. It didn't say you can wait, it don't park. So don't park, find somewhere else. And keep circling until, how hard is that?
Well, I know a lot of buildings like Movie Town, not Movie Town, Woodbrook One Place, Trin City Mall, Starlight Shopping Centre. They all put now using clamps. The clamp,
and I commend these people. For
yeah, that's a fantastic.
It's about the disrespect. It's a disrespect.
Yeah,
it's a gross disrespect. And sometimes if you don't want to listen, you'll have to feel.
Yeah.
It's a disrespect to our disabled and our senior citizenry, and we need to defend these people. We need to stand up for these people.
Yeah.
And do the right thing for them. And sometimes, I mean, I wouldn't do it. Would you do it? Would you park in a disabled spot? Would you do it?
No.
Never.
No. Well, I sometimes can.
Well,
I don't know. I actually had this discussion already once with, was it Philip? Yeah, and he was telling me.
So that's right, you can get.
Yeah, he told me that you can, but I personally wouldn't, because I don't see, like, I
You need
consider,
to.
yeah, I think of people who are in a wheelchair.
if you were with someone who has autism,
yeah,
you are
they would
legally
go on-
entitled to
they
park
would
in
go
that
on
spot.
it. I don't mind making the
You
block.
are.
Unless I'm really late. No, I don't.
So
Hey, just bust your mouth.
let's not beat around the bush. We have a lot of indiscipline that takes place in the side, and you have to deal from it from all spheres.
Correct. Well, as we have reached that hour where we need
Already?
to close our
Really,
session.
Are you kidding? No way, man.
No, not all. We're leaving some for our next Frontline show next week, Thursday. We would like to wish everyone who has been viewing our program to have a safe carnival. We would like you to let your friends and family know that our office will be reopened on the 17th of February 2018 on every Saturday from 12 noon. Come and add your voice to the frank and open discussions and express your opinions. Executives of the party will be at the head office to answer any questions you may have. Don't forget, and I keep reiterating it every time we have our Frontline, because I need for you to understand that we need for you to come and volunteer your time. And you can serve on the National Executive, the Constituency Executive, the Constituency Representative, Youth Arm, Women's Armed Security Team Events Committee. Why do I want you to volunteer? The Progressive Empowerment Party is different from any other party that has emerged in the past decade, not only in its principles, but also the fact that we are mainly comprised of ordinary citizenry. We believe that citizens should have a say in how they are governed. So we invite persons to volunteer to serve within our organization and help advance the vision and mission of the PEP. As we close, I would like to invite Richard to give his closing remarks, and then Felicity will give her closing remarks.
People, we're all fed up, we're frustrated because nothing works. Complaining on social media, grumbling to yourselves, grumbling to your friends is not going to help you. Michael Jackson once said, start with a man in the mirror. That's my message. Get involved. And there's so many ways. Start to act. And remember, real men don't all wear pink. Real men put God first, and then they don the color orange to do his work. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that, right?
Felicia.
Okay, well, in closing, guys, tonight we spoke about voting yourself a better country, and we didn't even get to touch on things like water management, education, home ownership, healthcare. We touched on those a little bit, but basically the policies, the plans that the Progressive Empowerment Party has, it's for you. it's for the people who say that every 5 years we get the same recycled nonsense. What about something new? What about new, fresh ideas that not just new, but they work and they have, and people, our plans and policies, best and first world practices. And we have looked across the globe at what works and what does not work, and we use that to inform and build our policies, in addition to getting feedback every Saturday for the past over a year from our membership, from people on what would work, what would not work. So you're fed up, you're tired, vote yourself for Better Country through the PP. I would also like to say tonight, as you may have noticed, we can't see it on our side, but at the top of your screen, you should be seeing a little Frontline logo, and you should also be seeing the PEP logo and a little ticker tape to the bottom. We are trying a new system which, thanks to the very hard work of a gentleman named Neil Mohammed and Kenneth Luke and Dilworth Bradworth and Kendall Baggy, our graphics designer, for the past week. They have, actually more than a week, they've been working on this, and I just want to shout out those guys. I am not sure how tonight went in terms of the live broadcast, whether it was sufficient, whether it's, you know, we're going to keep doing this bigger and better. So next week, look out for Frontline again with our fancy stuff.
Moving on up.
Moving on up.
Yes.
Trinidad
and Tobago. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, and you know, vote yourself a better country. We can't vote you a better country. You have to be the one to vote yourself a better country. We're just trying to create the catalyst and the platform in which you can do that, and one that you can have a level of accountability and transparency. The games that we've been playing for the last 55 years has not made any sense, and it has not brought any betterment for our country, our fellow citizens. And I think now that we have something that is directly geared towards the betterment of the citizens, again, we can't make it happen unless we have your support. So please come down Saturdays, every Saturday at 12 noon, 19 Stanmore Avenue, except for this coming Saturday because of the whole carnival thing. From next Saturday, is it?
17th. From
the following Saturday, which is the 17th, we will be reopening our doors, 12 noon, 19 Stanmore Avenue, Port of Spain. Come down, hear the policies, meet the executive, you know, have your voices heard. If you have concerns, put it on the table, and you would have someone that is going to address it, and we would walk you through things step by step. It's that simple. Again, this is not for us. It's for you. It's for your kids. It's for the generations to come. It's that simple. So Trinidad and Tobago, have a good night.
We want to acknowledge all our members and thank all of our viewers. To those of you who are on the roads, please be safe. Do have a